morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, March 26, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? Can I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. We have here our Ace of Cups. That focus, that reorientation point makes a lot of sense given the fact that we saw everything that is energetically happening right now, specifically for the energy and separation, masculine and feminine. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That focusing on the self. And I want to stress that this is the kind of card we want to see right now, because this eclipse energy is an amplification of what you are energetically feeling. So what do we want to do when we're feeling that amplification point on what we are feeling? We want to focus that intentionality in terms of moving that energy into spaces and places that feel like they are energetically supportive to our own self and systems. And that is effectively and energetically, I want to say, it's not a selfish act to be moving forward in that way right now, because that is that modality where we recognize that us being in our best energetic spiritual self is what is energetically best for those around us. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we even see this may feel like a little bit of pulling back energetically right now for a lot of the energy in separation. Why? Well, I just amplified the fact that we've got masculine and feminine very, very keyed up, learning lessons that while they are important, may not necessarily feel like they're at a moment that they are primarily specifically complementary. Why? Because as we said, feminine energy utilizing that pathwork of heightened discernment right now. Not wanting to move towards an energetic connection wherein they're not seeing that clarity in relationality to what that future manifestation goal looks like. Feminine energy is almost in a way, if they're starting to feel that heart opening, even around new energetic connections with masculine, this is the feminine energy almost holding their own horses, if you will, to basically like create that pause point and say, do you want the same things that I do? What are your manifestation goals? What is that pathwork? Feminine energy is catching themselves, not wanting to move forward in that space or place that they just found themselves energetically healing from. Feminine energy is working very hard right now to make sure that they're not building energetic connections with circumstances, with individuals that are not in alignment with their manifestation goals. And I even said yesterday, feminine energy, even at that moment of being able to move away from someone, at the moment they feel like they're seeing any of that uncertainty or trepidation coming through. That's feminine saying, I got to focus. I have to keep my priority on what I know is best for me, as opposed of what I feel like I desire, right? This is almost the feminine energy recognizing the differentiation between those fields. So even now we see the feminine energy is almost saying they're trying to create that alignment point between the desire and also what they feel is energetically best for them, maintaining that sense of recognizing that sooner rather than later. Masculine energy, this is a tricky time for you in separation, because we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, if you are leading forward right now with a new heightened sense of authenticity, doing that difficult energetic work of trying to, again, and not even doing this right now for the sense or the sake of trying to impress feminine. In fact, trying to throw that idea of impressing feminine out the window. This is that moment of recognizing that if you want authenticity from feminine, you must deliver authenticity to feminine. If you want vulnerability from feminine, you must offer vulnerability from feminine. Being able to try to do this work, it's not only energetically overwhelming and difficult for a lot of the masculine energy that's doing this work. You're almost like breaking the energetic template that you may have felt like you've been moving in, that you're now recognizing hasn't been energetically serving you. But further, it's a moment that you may suddenly be feeling a moment of, and even if this is moving in a positive way, it may potentially be creating that state or space of energetic crisis to suddenly see what a difference moving in that way elicits. Because that ability to see something may be feeling like you're recognizing something that you now are looking back on your own path on and being like, Like, what could have happened had you not gathered this information or this understanding sooner? That for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, this is almost that moment that building that internal GPS system is like kind of spinning it, if you will, because it's now that moment of saying, where do I go from here? What direction do I move into, while also being very aware of not wanting to bring anything that feels energetically confusing towards a feminine, recognizing and understanding, especially if there's the beginning of something starting here for you, that would energetically almost like immediately stop something before it's begun. So we see even now that this is masculine energy, almost again, energetically stepping back, if you will, utilizing that ability of really ascertaining and asking oneself, what does that heart's desire look like? Where do you feel energetically called to go? For a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, this is one of those moments that we find is very beautiful, because this is, again, almost masculine energy surrendering the energetic outcome in order to move in that way that they feel is most energetically or spiritually supportive for their own self and their own sense of again, energetic or spiritual confidence. So we see even now that these energies are doing a lot of similar path work, but they're also so heightened because of the eclipse energy that it almost feels very like energetically fraught territory. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the energetic breakthrough that you're potentially experiencing right now, specifically because if this is a feminine that is not only seeing a masculine that is becoming open and vulnerable to the feminine, but almost building forth with the feminine, having that moment of wanting to give feminine that opportunity or option to be able to understand and see the aspects of the masculine energy's own path work. That is the feminine energy that's feeling that validation point, not just hearing a masculine saying that they want to build forth with feminine, but seeing a masculine actually activating upon it, putting those words into action, integrating the feminine into the experience of the masculine's own life. That is the blending of energetic path work, and that is the feminine energy feeling the difference of a masculine that is bringing a feminine into their life versus the feminine feeling that they're experiencing a masculine that's building with the feminine. So for a lot of the feminine energy experiencing that feels like that moment of a lot of energetic catharsis and spiritual height, like excitement, if you will, because that is that moment of feeling the nourishment of building forth with something that feels like it is legitimate, feels like it is real, feels like it is whole and integrated. For masculine energy right now, this modality, it's creating, I want to say, even now for a lot of the masculine energy, moving through this could be that recognition or that understanding. If you're building for the first time towards feminine in this way, that modality of recognizing, potentially even seeing something that you may have thought in the past was someone seeking permission from a partnered energy, suddenly realizing that we don't seek permission in the frequency of the divine union. We have that recognition point that when we build forth with someone, all of our energetic choices start to have that energetic impact on the associative energy. So we see even now for the masculine almost coming into that place of energetically softening, opening up to a feminine in ways that they haven't before. This is building that sense of energetic cohesion, because that is that moment of, again, leading forward by that sense of mutual choice. That is the energetic commitment that we experience in the divine union frequency. For masculine energy moving through this, that is that moment that it feels like, it feels very like energetically, like it feels like it feels like a contentment point. That's the best way I can describe it, because we saw with that page of cups, the Knight of Cups in its transverse yesterday, that for a lot of the masculine energy, again, we saw that there were a lot of upsets. There was a lot of navigating any kind of shakeups energetically within or without that were happening from coming into divine union. This is that moment of the masculine almost energetically feeling that sense of contentment coming through, in feeling almost like the dust energetically settling, and that confidence or that catharsis in terms of what you're creating for yourself at this time. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now, This is that modality that just feels like there's going to be a lot of concentrated expression today on focusing on, again, building into your own spiritual or energetic well-being. Not necessarily surprised to see this right now, specifically because we were recognizing and identifying yesterday for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency. The best way we could articulate it was that moment or that experience. We saw that masculine was almost feeling a lot of that energetic overwhelm, if you will. But what was the masculine energy doing during that moment of energetic overwhelm? They were working through finding a way to energetically balance from within. And at the same time, almost utilizing that as a moment or a modality to build that energetic connection towards a feminine. The masculine, what is the feminine energy doing right now? Seeing a masculine that moves with that sense of energetic trepidation or energetic caution. That is the feminine energy, feeling that valuation point, feeling that energetic support of a masculine, recognizing that that is a masculine almost becoming energetically careful or conscientious, or is careful and conscientious about working through building and navigating and trying to move towards those manifestation goals with a level or degree of preciousness. So we see even now that for a feminine energy that was experiencing that sense or that ability of being able to almost say to a masculine, your ability to both navigate your own emotional territory and at the same time be able to look towards the future with foresight, but again, with a sense of trepidation. Those aren't energetic negatives. That's the feminine feeling the power of a masculine that is embodying the aspects of maintaining and having profoundly good judgment. So even now we see that that's a lot of that energetic catharsis coming into play, as it were, in relationality to putting and fixing and firming down a lot of those plans over the last few days. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is the Two of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy. What did I just say was happening? If the plans are made, you immediately feel relief, right? You don't have to sit there and be uncertain about what's going to happen moving forward. That clarity, if you will, is allowing a moment to be able to just kind of ground in the present, right? And we saw and recognized that because there's been a lot of this planning, a lot of this looking back, a lot of this looking forward. This is a day, this is almost that energetic day to ground, as it were. And that ability to do so is a result of having put the energetic work in not needing to do a lot of that preparation work because we saw so much of that was occurring over the last few days. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that sense of energetic catharsis that we've been seeing and recognizing has been happening for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency. And that is most amplified right now for a lot of this energy in that feeling of, again, contentment in where you find yourself in the present moment. We even recognize, and I'm not surprised to see this, because over the last few days, we saw that a lot of this energy was navigating either feeling internally or feeling or seeing very visibly in the external, a lot of the energy around them shifting as a result of coming into divine union. That ability to identify and recognize that occurring was what basically prevented a lot of the energy either from moving back into states or spaces of self-sabotage, or again observing and allowing for any energy that feels like it was like, you know, creating like a fractious point at a time that should be a point of happiness and contentment. That was almost that moment that almost allows for, I told you, that energetic release process that we need to accept and move into as we come into divine union. For a lot of energy coming into that sense of energetic catharsis is immediately creating that sense of energetic contentment in relationality to finding that contentment in the divine union. Because what occurs when we prioritize the other, that is that moment that we are utilizing our own path work that shows that, again, that isn't one that we energetically do in order to achieve something. It's not something that we do because we're looking for something. That's that focus of basically saying the difference between being like focusing on a manifestation goal and being like, I'm only energetically in a situation or circumstance to reach that manifestation goal, versus that feeling of saying, this moment right here is also content. This moment right here, if this is that moment, if this is that still space, then that in itself is the surfeit of happiness. That ability to be able to find that sense of energetic contentment in the present is what is sustaining a lot of the energy, because that is that moment that feels like the amplification of having found what you're energetically looking for. Masculine and feminine energy that are in separation. This is why we see even now that there may be a little bit of pulling back energetically that is happening as a result of some of this intensification that we're seeing during this eclipse cycle. Because we are seeing right now that this is masculine energy going through a lot of energetic understanding in separation right now, that is making it very clear to the masculine that unless they feel that confidence in terms of what direction they're heading in, they don't necessarily have a foot to like put forward towards a feminine. Why? Because this is masculine energy in that pathwork of recognizing and identifying and trying to build forth with feminine from a place of authenticity and integrity. This is masculine energy that's almost feeling the anxiety point of potentially moving towards the feminine at a point that they're feeling energetic confusion, that the feminine could almost immediately pick up upon, that the masculine would almost create like a complete close off point, and that's why we see even now a lot of the masculine energy. This is like the card, these are the equivalent of masculine energy and separation, doing what is best identified as a little bit of soul searching, trying to make sure that they're moving with intentionality in relation to what direction you want to go, as opposed to having a moment where you're having some energetic breakthroughs and you don't want to necessarily start to repeat your own unhealthy patterns in terms of not necessarily knowing where you're going in the midst of having a breakthrough. Feminine energy in separation, you're also having a lot of the energetic breakthrough, but this is the feminine energy that again is utilizing that power of discernment right now to such an extent that it's leaving very little room for energetic error in relationality to the energy that's around them right now. Because this is feminine energy that is really embodying that lesson that they are carrying forth as they come into that space of finding that peace, finding that contentment. Feminine energy moving forward right now, if they're finding this peace and contentment within the self, they're almost being very hypersensitive right now, not to bring in any energy that may disrupt that sense of peace that they're finding for themselves as they are moving forward on this healing journey. So we can see even now a lot of this energy is you see how fine-tuned this is in separation. So even now, if there's a little bit of that energetic pullback that's happening for a lot of the energy in separation, it's all from a desire and degree not to be misunderstood. Third card in our 5-card spread. This is almost that moment we're seeing energetically. And this is actually, this is nice for a lot of the energy in separation right now, because this is a masculine energy that, again, this is masculine energy in separation, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That is doing a lot of work in healing the inner child, right? Not wanting to just move in the direction of what they feel, that you're not just moving in the direction or desire of what you're feeling in that moment. You're almost creating that energetic break within yourself, giving it that sense of foresight, looking about the long term, making sure that the desire and the intentionality are there. Because this is, again, masculine energy, that while there may be this moment of coming into this heightened understanding in relationality to doing a lot of this energetic work within, it's almost amplifying. What is that doing for masculine energy that's having that type of breakthrough? It is creating a sense of trepidatiousness. It's creating a sense of energetic care. It is creating that sense of not wanting to be misunderstood, not wanting to accidentally or inadvertently misdirect one's own intentions, even in the way of building towards feminine. And this is even in the realm of masculine, building either new, and this is what we keep seeing for a lot of this masculine and separation. This is that moment that feels like that question mark as to whether to build forward in terms of experiencing and understanding that energetic breakthrough that you're having, or is this something that you go backwards on, right? And we see even now that the one thing that masculine is doing right now in that point of like determination is saying, I need to choose a path. I can't move in a way of trying to energetically leave all paths open, because when I move in that way of leaving all paths open, I go nowhere. I go nowhere. Feminine is moving in that same modality. And in this way, in separation, we see that these energies are aligned because this is a feminine energy. What is the feminine energy extremely high-tuned for right now? Feminine energy is extremely high-tuned for masculine energy, potentially approaching feminine, not knowing what they want. Just kind of like snooping around or coming in to see what could occur. This is feminine energy that is not looking for that type of energetic signature. This is feminine energy that is looking specifically for the masculine energy that has set their own internal GPS in relationality to what they aspire and desire to have with a feminine and with which and like with a feminine. Like this is the feminine saying, you can't just kind of like leave that, like this is the feminine energy saying, I'm not in that modality of you kind of leaving this like vacuous space in relationality to deciding. This is almost the feminine energy saying, you either are able to articulate on what you want. You're either showing me your ability to communicate in this fashion. You're either, again, like almost energetically all in, or feminine saying, or you can go away. So we see even now that a lot of that energy of the feminine, you can see why these energies are taking a little bit of this pulling back, if you will. Because feminine, if they're starting to feel that connectivity point with a new masculine, is like, wait, no further until I know what it is that you want. Masculine almost immediately picking up and sensing that and saying, what is it that I want? Because knowing and having to lead forward from authenticity is almost like the only energetic direction that we're seeing for a lot of this energy and separation right now. But recognizing that that is the energetic path of healing. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the maturation cycle of a lot of the masculine energy that's moving forward in this way. This is the masculine energy that is having a lot of those energetic breakthroughs. And this is almost the masculine energy that is, again, feeling that sense or that space of what we want to best identify as having that moment of feeling the weight of being in the divine union. But what is the masculine energy experiencing that's having that breakthrough right now? That perception in terms of feeling like something felt a lot different, or you had the wrong impression of it. And now that you're within it, you're feeling the full understanding of the experience. And in a way, a lot of that masculine energy today is feeling that feeling of energetic catharsis. And what is happening in relationality to the masculine, feeling like they surrendered or let go of anything to come into divine union. This is almost masculine energy looking at those things that they may have felt like they had to like let go of, be them internal or external, to come into divine union and saying, I was a fool. Like that stuff was not, like that's not, that none of that energetically mattered. Why? Because this is masculine energy coming into divine union and feeling that robust energetic equivalent of effectively feeling like you found what you're looking for. You have everything that you energetically need. Feeling that energetic robustness and support. That is the energy of a masculine that, again, has determined and feels the confidence of the path that they are building with feminine energy. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine energy, seeing that masculine that prioritizes the connection that they have with you above and beyond all things, seeing the masculine energy even when things get difficult or hard, doesn't even bat an eyelash, almost goes, that's nothing. Having a feminine energy see that is almost that amplification point of, again, not feeling like you need to ask the masculine to energetically step up for you, just seeing a masculine that does so, just by way of being. That is that moment that immediately creates the energetic catharsis for the feminine experiencing that, because that's a feminine saying, I am not dealing with a child energy. I am dealing with someone who is healed. I am dealing with someone who has matured. I am dealing with someone that isn't in that modality of being provoked by energetically from within in relation to anxiety, or energetically from without in terms of feeling like they need to impress others. This is that energy of the feminine that feels the confidence and support of a masculine that is building that energetic security and stability around this feminine by focusing and by prioritizing the connection with the feminine. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, you're energetically feeling that as well right now. One of the things we're seeing today for the energy in the divine union frequency is we've been seeing this coming through right now, a little bit of energetic easement right now in relation, but all for the sense of what happens when you do your work ahead of time. When you make the plans ahead of time, you can kind of go into cruise control. When you lay out that path work, it feels like it creates that energetic surfeit, if you will, because again, why do we plan? So we have time to enjoy. So we see even now, there may be that feeling that we're seeing arriving right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency of just really kind of grounding and enjoying the fruits of your labor, or just enjoying the connection of the energy itself today, because this is that moment that either, again, you're building into enjoying some of the plans that you already energetically laid out. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, fourth card in our 5-card spread for today. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing here to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine energy, particularly in the divine union frequency right now. This modality of just coming into, I want to say, that point of energetic easement, that's almost that reminder. Remember we kept having these conversations about work right now. This how one moves towards your manifestation goals, making sure that there is joy in that process, making sure that we can move into that modality of just loving the way that we are, so that way when we're moving towards manifestation goals, it's not like we're in that point of like deep pain or profound like unhappiness as we try to like navigate to that like rainbow. Like, no, this is that moment that almost is like the amplification point in saying, build into that space or place wherein you can enjoy the moment. You can find that joy. You can find that gratitude. You can find those sparks of happiness, like whistle while you work, if you will, as you continue forward into your manifestation goals. So we see even now, there's almost that feeling of energetic easement that's happening here. Because I even told you, some of the energy right now in the heart of the divine union frequency didn't even recognize that they've kind of slipped into their manifestation goals. They've been in the divine union frequency enough. It almost required yesterday that moment or opportunity to look around and say, hey, listen, if you're feeling like this, imagine like where you were about a year ago. See if that's something that like, are you seeing that difference? Did you not notice that you slid into that, like you just like wandered into casually the thing that you would have aspired for when you first entered the divine union? So we see even now that a lot of that energetic equivalent is building that sense of restoration, building that sense of peace. The energy in the divine union doesn't wait for tomorrow for that time to come. They try to do it very much in the present. So we see a lot of that energy right now, doing a lot of that effective work to find that sense of gratitude, to find that sense of happiness in the present experience, recognizing that a lot of that is the result of the work that you've done coming forward to this point, while also recognizing the work that where you still have to go, which we like to see, which is actually pretty surprising for the eclipse season, because that's really the grounding of a lot of that energetic energy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is a lot of the energetic breakthrough and path work that we're seeing in terms of the integration of these energies. A lot of energy coming into divine union a lot more easily right now, due to the fact that the energetic healing work is such where masculine is trying to build an authentic connection with feminine. Feminine is utilizing the power of resilience to recognize and identify the energy that truly wants to move forward towards those manifestation goals. That is why we see here a lot of this energy right now. It does feel, in a way, energetically bittersweet. What do I mean right now for a lot of the energy that's coming into that benchmark, having that point of success, feeling the robustness of coming into the divine union frequency? It can feel a little top bottom, because at a moment that you are experiencing that happiness, where does your mind return to? It returns to the spaces and places that were required that helped you learn to facilitate how to come into that space of healing, right? That is that moment that feels like that sense. I told you, that heart opening experience of moving forward with happiness while also holding a sense of energetic grief and loss for what you have to like energetically release as you continue forward in that direction. But why do we see that the energy moving forward in this way is coming into a point of catharsis over this? This is almost that sense of energetically looking back at something and almost saying, I don't see any way that this could have happened with that person. I don't see any way that this could have happened with that situation, because that is that moment that feels like that validation point. For masculine, it's going to feel like more that internal journey. This could be a lot of the masculine energy looking back and saying, I wasn't ready for this type of connection back then. For feminine, this could be a moment of looking back and saying, that person I was trying to build this with was not ready for this type of connection back then. Masculine, and potentially ever. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is why this is the heightening of this intensity. The intensity, you guys saw it. The last few months, the intensity has been in the energy leading up to this eclipse. It has been the energy in the divine union that's been having the most intensity. Now it's back into a lot of the energy in separation. Why? This is that moment that we see the same energetic lesson that's coming through for the energy coming into divine union right now is happening for a lot of the energy in separation. Feminine energy utilizing that past lesson. This is not feminine energy that has forgotten the lessons of the past. They're taking them into practical application. And the lesson that a lot of the feminine energy is taking forward on this point is, again, not chasing after energy that's not moving in the same direction, not even allowing a lot of that energy that's not moving in the same direction to just come along for the ride energetically, if you will. This is feminine energy that says you either know where you're going or you don't come along. This is even feminine energy that's saying to a certain extent, I love you, I can care about you, but this is the expression of energetic tough love, if you will, in terms of feminine energy basically saying to a certain extent, you can come along, but only if you know where you're going. You can come, you can walk with me. You can walk with me only if you already know that you're moving in that direction. This is the feminine energy that's being very, very trepidatious right now, especially and in relation to new energetic connections, utilizing a extremely heightened sense of discernment in relationality to that. Why? Because feminine energy in separation right now is feeling the benchmark of experiencing what feels like the return to peace, getting back on their path. Feminine energy is utilizing a lot of power of discernment to make sure that they're not beginning to repeat a cycle by bringing themselves back into connection with someone that feels like they're going to take them off their path. Masculine energy is having a moment where you're having a profound energetic breakthrough in separation right now, especially if you are leading forth and you're building in more authentic energetic connections with feminine. This is a moment that feels like, in a way, like all the doors just got thrown open, because you're suddenly recognizing not only the point of success that you're having in the present, but you're also potentially seeing all the spaces and places that you wish that you had this lesson in the past. This is why even now it's really important for the masculine. We see even now that this is masculine going through this moment of energetic confusion, if you will, truly doing this work to ask themselves, which direction am I headed? Almost intuitively, again, building forward with feminine, either intuitively right now because you're coming into alignment with your feminine energy, or you're hearing it from a lot of the feminine around you, which is, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Like, it has to be that answer, because this is that moment that almost says to the masculine, that recognition point of saying, I can have anything I want, but I need to know what it is that is. And I need to be authentic about it. Right? So for a lot of the masculine energy, that feeling of decisiveness, that feeling of energetic choice, it is difficult right now, because there's masculine energy that's feeling a lot of energetic confusion in that, because this is masculine energy that recognizes to a certain extent that be able to move forward with integrity, you must relinquish the outcome. You must relinquish the outcome. You have to just move in the direction that your heart guides you. Continuing to get clarification, fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, you've got to have the authenticity. You can't fake it. You can't fake it. Can't fake it. This is the masculine energy that recognizes and sees and understands, especially if you're leading. This is masculine energy if in separation. If you are leading forward from a place of energetic falsehood or illusion to feminine, you're now seeing and understanding that you may not necessarily have ever had a deep, true connection with feminine before, because feminine can read you like a book. Feminine can energetically read you like a book. This is a lot of masculine energy, building a more authentic connection with feminine and suddenly recognizing that there is no energetic falsehood that you can put before a feminine. That the feminine just recognizes it and gives it back to you. So again, if this is a lot of the masculine energy being like, all that time I was saying that the energy of the feminine was coming towards me from a sense of falsehood, this is masculine being like, oh, what did I give? Oh, I did. Did I? Oh, I did. This is the masculine recognizing and realizing in separation that moment of energetic breakthrough going, oh my gosh, what I give, I receive. The working in that facility, building in that way, I need to give to feminine authentically if I want an authentic connection with feminine. So even now we see that a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now is having, I want to say, it may feel a little bit of akin to an energetic crisis, if you will, because that's only half the work. You may be realizing and recognizing right now that leading, building authentically is half the work. The other part is intentionality. You can be authentic. There's potentially even a lot of masculine energy right now that's starting to build very authentic connections with feminine, but feminine's going like this, because this is almost feminine energy being like, it seems like you're authentically confused, right? What is the feminine potentially saying, building new energetic connections right now with new masculine energy? It seems like this is the feminine almost looking to the masculine and going, it seems like you're authentically confused, building the authentic connection, but almost recognizing and witnessing the masculine, if not sure what that intentionality is almost, again, putting a little bit of energetic distance between themselves and the masculine, going, it seems like you're energetically confused. And the feminine is in a moment right now where feminine's going, I'm not getting into situations with energy of masculine that is energetically confused, because energy of masculine that is energetically confused doesn't know where they are going. And feminine says, I know where I am going. I know what my manifestation goal is. So this is why we say, even now, this could be the energy of the feminine being like, you seem really nice, but you also seem very confused. Like that's almost like that energy of the feminine that's coming through right now with some of the masculine energy to a certain extent right now, being like, you seem lovely, but incredibly confused right now. So this is almost feminine being like, you do you, I'll do me, because I don't want to be introducing the energy of confusing. So even now we see that there's a lot of the masculine energy, if this is happening right now, is feeling to a certain extent, having to take a minute to reprioritize and say, what do I want? Because this is that moment of recognizing that the authenticity is only half of the energetic equation. Masculine and feminine energy that are moving in the divine union, this is the energy of the masculine going, I know exactly what I want. I'm not even shaken by the fact that I recognize that as I move into divine union, the energy around me changes. My relationships to others change. I lose some people. And this is the masculine, or saying I lose a part of myself that feels like I could just do anything I want. This is the masculine energy. What is the masculine energy in divine union saying? Did I stutter? Did I stutter? It's nothing. It's nothing. Look at the masculine energy in the divine, coming into divine union frequency. This is almost masculine energy. This is almost feminine energy, almost pointing it out to the masculine, being like, aren't you? And masculine's going, no, what are you talking about? I couldn't care less. What are you talking about? I didn't lose anything. Because this is the masculine energy in the divine union frequency that is just feeling the validation point of saying the yes overrides any of the no. The positive outweighs the negative. This is almost masculine energy coming into divine union being like, no, this is me. That's nothing. What, the possibility of choice? The energy that didn't like it when I remove the possibility of choice? This is masculine literally coming into divine union being like, I have something here. This is the substantial thing. What we're creating together is real. This is the masculine energy coming into divine union saying, anything I thought before this, like that I was holding on to, was an illusion, was like an energetic illusion. Because this is masculine coming into divine union saying, this is the energetic prize. This is where I aspire and desire to be. Feminine seeing a masculine that's almost seeing that, like to the point that feminine's even pointing it out, like, are you worried about masculine going, no, don't worry about it. It's not important to me. Whatever's not in alignment with what we're bringing in, with what we're creating together, isn't for us. Let's just let it move away. Like, that is the energy of the feminine. Again, seeing a masculine that is prioritizing the connection with the feminine above all, including that maturation process of the energetic self. Masculine and feminine in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that moment. I have to say, this is feeling a lot like today. Again, a lot of easement for masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. In relationality to feeling, I mean, masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency right now, just coming into a point of energetic easement. I'm not surprised to see this. This energy has been doing, have you seen, go follow those past videos we watched, so much energetic unpacking over the last few days, over the last few weeks, all leading up to this cycle. So for the ability, it's like all of that feels like it was almost like an act of energetic preparation, right? Almost being able to like navigate or the hurdle, or almost anticipating the energetic hurdle of like the eclipse season and the retrograde coming forward, doing that work ahead of time, right? So this is now coming through a lot with this energy here in terms of feeling the energetic equivalent of being able to ease up a little bit today, enjoying the fruits of your labor, still working, but finding that joy in the work, building that sense of what you are creating. And again, for a lot of the energy in the divine union, a lot of this manifestation goal that we're almost seeing is building that sense of enjoyment in the day-to-day. Do you see what happens with some of these manifestation goals? When we start to pull them in, that refinement point starts building that sense of energetic contentment. It's not the sense that you've got like these like pie in the skies that you're working through right now, but you're also working on the immediate present manifestation goal, right? Putting that energy of positivity in the moment to be able to manifest more of it as you go forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Cups in combination with our Two of Wands in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with the Two of Swords. Not surprised to see this. We actually saw this in the energetic reading I was giving yesterday on the Queer Healers interview. What are we seeing here? So again, we are identifying that there's a moment, I want to say this, it almost feels like a little bit of this energetic stillness that is coming into play right now, right? Finding that energetic sweet spot. What has the energy in the divine union been trying to do? Trying to navigate and coming into that energetic sweet spot. We even saw that that's been requiring a little bit of difficulty or hurdle between masculine and feminine. Why? Feminine energy wants to hold back a little bit more right now. Feminine energy, when things are going well, they like to kind of stay in place and like now to keep it, like sustain it, if you will. Masculine wants to like rush it forward, right? So we're seeing here that this ability to navigate, that fine tuning, if you will, is almost amplified today in that feeling of energetic contentment in the moment. And even now we see that that doesn't feel like there's a lot of that. There's not a lot of activity right now in the realms of communication and planning, but this is almost because we see that a lot of the energy right now is utilizing the power of energetic patience, if you will, right? Right? What is the message that we see has been occurring right now? And one of the messages we've received over the last few weeks. Just because you don't hear something doesn't mean something isn't happening. The gift of the energy of this time of year is that moment of anticipation. Just because the shoot hasn't come out of the ground doesn't mean that it's not going to do that any day now, right? So we see even now, there's a moment we see that is that amplification point of feeling the sense of energetic surrender, but turning it into one that feels like energetic peace and contentment and abundance. This is that transformational process of, again, relinquishing the energetic outcome to basically say to one another in this modality, regardless of what that outcome is, if you feel the sense that you would be doing what you aspire to do anyway, then that in itself brings its own level or degree of catharsis because you find joy in the act. So we see even now that a lot of the energy of doing that right now is utilizing that power of being the clear channel, the clear mirror for one another to amplify and to encourage each other in that modality while also feeling that sense of contentment along the way. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, coming through in this modality right now, the energy that's in this space in the divine union, this is something that's going to feel more like an energetic breakthrough point, because this is something that you are energetically experiencing potentially for the first time. The energy in the divine union, this is more like that fine-tuning work we see. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is that feeling of almost saying to one another, we found it. We found each other, regardless of what happens, regardless of what it energetically took. This is the energy feeling that sense of connection, because that is the energy that moves in that space or place of abundance in terms of saying to one another energetically, like, you are the energetic prize. Like when you move into that modality of divine union, that's that moment of flourishing or robustness, because that's that moment of basically saying, regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of where it leads, this isn't energy that's trying to come towards one another to accomplish some kind of goal. The act of being able to work in collaboration, that in itself is the space or place that brings the energetic sense of abundance. So we see even now for a lot of the energy experiencing that is that feeling of energetic contentment that is coming towards you in this moment. For the energy in separation, this is why we see right now there is a lot of energetic soul searching on the part of the masculine in separation, and a lot of discernment that's happening for the feminine in separation. Why? Because this is the eventuality of the path work that we've been seeing that both of these energies have been experiencing and healing. Now, if you will recall, up until this point, these energies were very much in alignment, but now, at this moment of coming into this new energetic cycle, this is where the rubber energetically reaches the road to a certain extent, because we've got here the feminine energy that is being very, very particular in terms of anyone that they're introducing into their life, because they don't want to mess up the peace that they've created in terms of breaking their own energetic cycles. We've got masculine that's having breakthrough, building authentic connections with feminine, recognizing the changes that they needed to make within their own self to be able to facilitate that kind of connection. For masculine, is potentially creating a moment of energetic confusion, not wanting to mislead the feminine, is requiring the masculine to know what it is that they energetically want. Feminine energy also in a moment of recognizing that if there's a masculine energy and a point of energetic confusion, that might be enough for the feminine energy, if operating at this level, to just almost energetically close the door on a masculine, saying that ability to be intentional right now is the highest priority of the feminine in separation. So you can see even now, this is feeling more like that amplification of anticipation, because this is almost that moment of feminine watching masculine to see which way they're going to energetically fall, and masculine trying to decide which direction to effectively or energetically move at this time. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Wands and its reversal in combination with our Page of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, and what is the solution to that problem? Masculine, what is the solution to that problem? The solution to that problem, if you're masculine in separation, is follow your bliss. Not your passion, not your passion. Where is your happiness? Where does your happiness lie? Passion is short-lived. Passion comes and goes. The difference between following your joy versus following your passion is the amplification in terms of what feels like it is perpetual and sustainable. So we see even now that one of the reasons that a lot of the masculine energy is at this time in separation, energetically pulling back a little bit, is simply due to the fact of really trying to identify and navigate the difference, the energetic difference between what they feel like they desire versus what you feel truly brings happiness. Why? Because one is that need-based matrix. One is that feeling of that, that pull, that feeling of needing something. The other is the energetic give. The other is the sense of wanting to share abundance, wanting to share joy, moving forward in that sense of, again, not the craving, but the compassion. What do you want to build forward into? So we see even now that this is a lot of the masculine energy in separation, struggling between their energetic desire space versus their true asking themselves, what is it that would bring them that larger amplification of positivity and joy? And for a lot of the masculine energy and separation, this feels like a lot of that work in mastering that inner child element, because that is that moment of not letting yourself just move in the way that you immediately feel that instinctual desire to move towards, but really saying to yourself, is that going to make me truly happy? Is that person, is there a possibility of happiness there? Is there a possibility of like a long-term sustainable situation? This is that moment that a lot of the masculine energy, and we like to see this because even though it's difficult, it is a lot of energetic breakthroughs, because that's that moment of almost feeling that sense of saying, what would be best? What would create that sense of happiness? Not just that momentary easement of desire, but what is going to create that sustainable place or space that amplifies that feeling of joy day after day after day. So we see even now a lot of that masculine energy is trying to identify and articulate what that looks like for themselves so that they could utilize that as the GPS system to help them navigate within going forward, setting that internal intention. Feminine energy, you have that for yourself right now. A lot of the feminine energy and separation has been doing a lot of hard work. Even now, navigating what feels like those unhealed karmic connections, but finding a way, this doesn't feel like a pullback moment anymore. It feels like something that you are energetically integrating. You are finding the ways to integrate the experience with the lessons that you learn. So that's why we see even now, that's creating a sense or space of energetic caution for a lot of the energy of the feminine experiencing this, because this is feminine that is prioritizing their happiness and their peace. And now there's a level or element or degree of trepidation if you've done a lot of that work in finding that happiness and peace for yourself, in not wanting to bring someone in who may energetically disrupt that, right? This is that energy of the feminine utilizing that sense of like extremely heightened discernment in relationality to connections, even to the sense that we see now that some of the feminine energy may even be like ready to almost cut off a new connection because they're starting to see some of that energetic confusion in relationality to what someone desires. So even now we see that there is what may be best articulated as a little bit of misalignment in relationality to how these lessons are falling. But that is also why we see that the feminine energy is not utilizing that as a moment of becoming overly flexible. It's almost that moment of basically saying like, listen, when you know what you energetically want, you know where to find me, but not a moment before. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union. This is the energetic equivalent of having found that in the other counterpart. Now, again, I need to stress, are these energies that are codependent, that are relying on another person for happiness? No. These are energies, I just told you. What's the energy in separation doing? Finding their own path to happiness. Building in separation towards it, finding the energetic equivalent that doesn't remove you or move you off of that path. It aligns with that path. So the energy right now that's moving in that modality, even if coming into divine union created what may be best described as some kind of energetic shakeup, if you will, this is the energy in the divine union almost saying it doesn't feel like it is the prioritization point. It doesn't feel like that is the energetic focus, because the energetic focus, if you will, is again in what you are creating energetically together. When we have that sense of contentment, where we know where our contentment lies within our own self, then it doesn't necessarily matter what is externally happening, because we're creating that sense of understanding within the self. So for the energy right now that is experiencing that, even coming into the divine union, what is the energy experiencing, even if it's creating that moment of internal or externalized crisis at a time that you're coming into divine union? That sense of feeling the energetic equivalent of saying, if you're happy, then what is this? If you're happy, then what is that? That is that moment that feels like that sense of energetic surrender of saying, if I'm just moving forward in a way of trying to amplify the happiness, and that creates a state or space of the energy around me moving away because I'm coming into that space of happiness, this is the energy that almost, again, that's weird, like not overly concentrating on it, just almost energetically observing it and feeling that sense of saying, well, maybe at some other point that won't be the case, right? Because that is that moment that feels like, again, the energy, this is the energy coming into divine union that almost feels like if there's some kind of interruption that's happening here, this is that moment of basically saying, why is this joy that we're creating some kind of energetic disruption, right? Doesn't make sense. And that's why even now we see that a lot of the energy coming in that way is just like observing something, but not letting it deviate them from their course. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the heart of the divine union, what we are energetically seeing is, again, that sense. Even now we see that there's a little bit of this like energetic stillness that's coming into play right now. It's not surprising. We've got the eclipse happening. We've also got a lot of this energy right now in relationality to the Mercury retrograde shadow period that we're starting to experience. So this is that moment that you may not necessarily see a lot of like robust activation today, but still that feeling is energetically present, because it feels like the amplification of basically that sensation of saying, just because I can't see something doesn't mean that something isn't there. Just because I can't see the results of something doesn't mean that something isn't growing. This is that moment of energetic reassurance that is coming through with that point of positivity, if you will, in relation to having those points of understanding and recognizing that that is that modality that feels like the expression of, again, coming into that state of positivity and continuing forward in that way with that energetic confidence that as long as you continue forward in that way, that is that moment that is going to show the results of your efforts and actions. So even now we see that this is a lot of the result of the energy in the divine union, like putting a little bit of that work ahead of themselves so that they can kind of enjoy the fruits of that energetic labor. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Wands in combination with our Six of Wands in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. This is the gift. What is the gift that is coming through right now for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency? If you're not seeing it, wait. It's not showing up yet, continue forward. What happens when we're moving with intentionality? We do that work not because we're desiring a certain outcome. If the outcome comes, great. This is that moment that feels like that energetic equivalent of, again, building that sense of energetic contentment, because it is that the amplification of, again, feeling that moment or that degree of saying to oneself, regardless of what the energetic outcome is, I'm feeling the contentment in the moment. Having that ability to do so is a lot of the work of the energy in the divine union. In fact, for a lot of the energy in the divine union, that is the amplification of a manifestation goal that is coming into play in the present, right? Being able to energetically feel that sense of contentment that you're aspiring for in the work that you're doing now is how we energetically pull that manifestation towards us. Because that's that moment that almost feels like, again, you're moving towards that goal. Even if you're not there, you say to yourself, I'm not there yet, but every step I take is bringing me closer to it, and I don't mind the walk, right? That is the path for a healthy manifestation goal. I'm moving towards it. I feel it's on its way, and I enjoy the journey to reach it. All you do is you just continue to do that. You continue to say that again. I want that. I'm moving towards it, and I enjoy the journey towards it. So being able to navigate that right now is building that sense of, again, energetic endurance, even during a period that would typically be very energetically overwhelming in this cycle, because we're seeing even now that energy, that feeling, that building of growth, it feels like, again, moving it into a space or place of excitement as opposed to anxiety. Affirming to yourself, like, if it's not here, doesn't mean it's not coming. It means you're continuing moving forward towards it. Building that sense of anticipation and possibility and happiness coming into play. A lot of the energy in the divine union holding each other up, bolstering each other in that course, helping each other through those moments of anxiety or uncertainty, and saying, just keep moving towards it. Just keep taking it, do one foot in front of the other, recognize that every step you take brings you a little bit closer. That is the energetic equivalent of, again, the energy in the divine union, just helping each other move with a lot of patience towards manifestation goals. And it doesn't feel like a sprint. It can't be a sprint. Remember how we even said that the focus a few days ago was this card in its reversal, the anxiety that the energy had, seeing the energy in the divine union and making sure that they were putting that care and effort and energy in themselves to articulate the difference between whether someone was moving towards something from a state of anxiety or from a state of excitement. This is that energetic affirmation that feels like the amplification of saying, again, you've got this. I love you. Keep going. Because that is that moment of seeing that point that feels like that is the sustainable space of joy. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is feeling the accomplishment point of having energetically found that counterpart energy. There could be a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union that feels like that sense of almost like this is almost the energetic slowdown that we're seeing that is potentially happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union, because it's that sense of, even though you may feel like there's plans that are coming forward in the future, your own enjoyment of just being with counterpart energy feels like the reward in itself. That's why we even see even now that could be a little bit of that like energy of being like not wanting to go anywhere, not wanting to do anything, because this is that moment that almost feels like the amplification of being like, I just want to be where you are. What are you doing? Absolutely nothing. Sounds perfect. I'll be there in a few, right? That's that moment that feels like that amplification of enjoying another's presence. But again, what is the energy in the divine union feeling? That modality or moment of feeling that that source of contentment is energetically arising, if you will, because this is the energetic equivalent of, again, not feeling that need of being in partnership to be able to like reach some kind of endpoint. It's that sense or that state of being that feels like the expression of feeling more yourself when you're in connection with another energy, that flow state, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is that energetic equivalent, if you will, of the energy finding this in separation. The feminine energy right now is actually like in this moment. This is a feminine energy in separation, finding that point of joy for themselves again, finding those points of energetic sustainability, coming back into a state that starts to feel like there's more spiritually or energetically nourishing. What happens when you leave an energetic connection and you suddenly start to feel better than you were before you were in the energetic connection? You become more energetically discerning in relationality to going forward in energetic connections, because the lesson that you're taking is how much an energetic connection that is moving in the wrong direction can impact your own spiritual or energetic health. So we see even now that the energy of the feminine, having regained this to a certain extent in separation, is utilizing this extremely heightened sense of energetic discernment, because they just got this back. They just navigated this. This is not something that they want to lose, because it's something that I'm seeing even now. It feels like it's something that has just been rediscovered. So that's why we see that there's a little bit of that princess in the pea effect that is energetically occurring right now for a lot of the feminine energy in this modality, because this is feminine energy that's almost seeing any of the energy of masculine, even if their intentionality is sound, as a potential risk to that stability. So we see even now that this is the feminine energy as being like, being extremely conscientious, and that is requiring a masculine that is not only authentic, but also knows what it is that they want. And there could be a lot of the feminine energy right now that is potentially even going through separating from some new energetic connections that they're making with masculine, that's almost saying like, you seem great, but you also seem really confused. You also seem like you've just come out of something. You also seem like you're just having these energetic breakthroughs. You also seem like you just need to kind of give me a little bit of distance or space here, because this is feminine energy that's feeling the true anxiety of not wanting to build forth with a masculine energy that doesn't know what it is that they aspire and desire for. Masculine energy You may be recognizing this on the part of the feminine. You may even understand it. This is the one thing we appreciate right now, seeing a lot of the masculine, is like a lot of the masculine energy is like, I get it. There's almost masculine energy being like, I would feel the same, right? Because, and I even have to say right now, for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this is not a time to get energetically hard on yourself. This is a time that requires a little bit of internal journeying to really understand what it is that you truly aspire and desire. What is that manifestation goal? What does it look like? And so we see even now a lot of the masculine energy almost pulling back a little bit in this moment after having an energetic breakthrough. We're seeing a lot of the masculine energy trying to lead forward, build an authentic connection with feminine, feeling and seeing the difference immediately, going, oh my gosh, pulling back and going, oh, I need a minute, because that's that moment that almost amplifies the masculine, recognizing that the honesty is half of it. The intentionality is the other half. So we see even now this is masculine almost pulling back a little on their own healing journey to go, what is it that I really want? What does that really look like? So that they can give it to the feminine. It's taking the masculine, finding it within their own self. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Wands in combination with our Knight of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Hierophant. And this is what we appreciate. This is what we appreciate, because this is a lot of the energy in separation. And what did I tell you? I told you energetically that this was going to happen to a certain extent. What is the energy in separation, even if they're going through that healing journey right now? What is the amplification that is happening? Not wanting to rush into partnership. A lot of the energy right now is doing a lot of work in terms of moving with almost a heightened degree of steadiness and slowness, but also clarity in this, specifically for these reasons. Why? Because we see both masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, having just recently come out of what could be described as some very, very, very heavy energetic connections, where some very, very, very heavy energetic lessons were learned. Feminine energy is taking that valuation lesson and saying, I am only moving forward right now with a masculine that knows that what they want. That if the masculine knows what they want, they're going to let me know, and we're going to move in the same direction. This is feminine energy saying, this is my manifestation goal. This is, regardless of everything, this is the feminine energy's priority at this point. This is a feminine energy saying, I'm not going to build a connection with a masculine, hoping one day they turn around and go, hey, you know what? Let's move towards a manifestation goal together. This is the feminine energy that's saying, I need the masculine energy to come towards me and say, I want this. This is what I want my future to look like. This is the person I'm looking for to have that future with. This is the feminine energy that is almost saying, to a certain extent, they're seeking the masculine that has that clarity and intentionality of purpose in whatever shape that is. That's the important thing. It doesn't matter what shape it is. The masculine just has to have it. It could be anything. It could be whatever that manifestation goal is. Feminine's going, they need to know what they want. It's not my job to supply it. It's not my job to offer them an option for them to explore. It's not my option. It's not my job to paint them a picture and see if they feel inclined to it. This is feminine energy that says, I need to know that they want it too. I need to see the tangibles, that is something that they're building towards, not something that they're just nodding their head and entertaining for the access to me that would allow them that ability to have that access without giving back in kind. That's why we see so much of this feminine energy right now in separation is almost saying to the masculine, honesty's good. Intentionality is the other half of that. Honest and intentional in terms of what it is that you aspire and desire for going forward. Masculine energy in separation is going through what could be best described as potentially a bit of an existential crisis right now. If you are in separation, you just started to lead forth to feminine from a place of authenticity, clarity, just being your honest self, seeing the difference that energetically makes, suddenly recognizing something that you could have done on your own path work differently, is creating that moment for a lot of the masculine in separation that feels like, again, like there's a lot of different directions you could move into. Because that's that moment. It's not just a question of going forward. You're almost looking backwards at the same time. You're going, oh my goodness. So what's happening for the masculine right now? You are being called forth right now, even from the new energetic connections, to say, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? What direction are you going in? Because that is that moment. And even now we see the masculine, it's almost recognizing the difference between saying, you don't want an energetic connection versus recognizing that every energetic connection is the desire of an energetic connection. You can't say to any feminine energy, I don't want commitment. Even in like, there's no lack of commitment in a commitment. You can't say, I want a commitment with you without the commitment. Like the commitment itself is the commitment. The relationship, regardless of how you identify or describe it, is a relationship. Right? So we see even now that a lot of the masculine energy is wrapping their head around this and saying to themselves, what is it that I need to tell the feminine? Like, what is it? Not that I need to tell the feminine. What is it that I truly want in my connection to a feminine so that I can provide it to them so that they can decide willingly and as a partner as to whether they want to be a part of that as well. So we see even now a lot of that masculine energy recognizing that path of authenticity is only half the work. Now doing that work of trying to unpack and really understand what it is that they seek in partnership going forward so that they might be able to offer that to feminine to see if they can build manifestation goals together. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency coming into it, this is why this energy is slowing down, because if you've already built a connection like this, anything else just feels like it's there, but it's not necessary. It's not like the externals are creating the partnership, right? When you're moving in the divine union frequency, all of the tangibles, I mean, they're helpful, but they're not what really creates the core of the energetic connection. So we see even now that a lot of the energy right now that's moving through this, you know, it's almost that feeling of feeling the power and authenticity of that commitment, because it's one that you feel like, again, it doesn't need the tangible on because it's so enduring, because it's so strong. And we see even now that's that moment for a lot of the masculine energy where you're almost like rushing ahead to try to put the tangibles there, because this is that moment that for a lot of the masculine energy, you may be recognizing and realizing that validation factor. Commitment doesn't come when you offer it. The offers that you give are like tokens that you throw, like they're nonsense. They're meaningless. They're like these small little acts for everyone else to articulate a connection that is sacrosanct between you and the feminine. Feminine seeing a masculine that moves in that way, again, that's already moved into that space or place of energetically committing to you in this fashion. This is that moment that, like, again, you almost feel like that energetic slowdown point in terms of like building that sense of strictness around it, because that's that moment that feels like the energetic equivalent of seeing and feeling that sense of being in the divine union, regardless of what you see tangibly in terms of what others call it or what you've even moved forward in calling it, right? And that is something that is happening not by someone saying that it's such, but by someone moving in a way that it's such. It is beyond, it's not something that you have to hope for. It's something that you see evidence of in the way the masculine moves towards you. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This is actually the energetic accommodation point that we're almost seeing to a certain extent, because I told you a lot of the energy coming into the divine union frequency, you've been in it in a while. A lot of this has been that assessment on how much you've changed from the time that you entered the divine union to where you find yourself now. So even now we see that this is almost that moment of energetic adaptability that is coming into play right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union. Because I want to say that this almost feels like the energetic equivalent. I keep getting this message of like taking the training wheels off. What you may have relied upon in the past doesn't feel like it is so necessary going forward, because you're almost building that sense of energetic advancement as you continue forward in this way. This is that moment that feels like that amplification point, because as I said, a lot of the energy right now that's in the heart of the divine union, it's feeling like, again, if you're not moving towards your manifestation goals, the new path work is almost just building that sense of easement or enjoyment as you do so. That like happy, that like, you know, whistle while you work kind of mentality, if you will. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Swords in combination with our Sun card. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with Two of Pentacles. Now, masculine and feminine, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. In the divine union frequency, what do we keep seeing that's happening? A lot of balls in the air. A lot of work that you're working on doing, a lot of concentration. What we're actually seeing for a lot of energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is building enough of an energetic connection with someone to such a degree that you don't need to have a lot of primary focus on maintaining that energetic connection. The divine union frequency is almost becoming so in tune or getting so advanced and being able to build that energetic connection that it's allowing for an easement in being able to do other things, because there's almost a part of the energetic connection of being in divine union that feels like, to a certain extent, it's on autopilot, right? That's what happens when we lay the groundwork for an energetic connection. That's what happens. None of that effort or energy is lost. It all just amplifies that sense of like building an energetic muscle. So we see that for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, there's so much of this path work that has kind of become integrated into your own experience, almost those intuitive things you do to communicate with someone, that ability to like shorten that communication, being able to like tighten up that circuitry in a way of like being able to anticipate what someone's going to do, knowing someone's schedule, being able to flow even without consulting them, having that moment of just kind of feeling like, again, two parts that move in that like energetic fluidity, if you will. That's that moment that feels like the amplification point in terms of a manifestation goal coming towards the present, because that's that moment of feeling the harmonic balance that you're energetically trying to achieve that feels like it's energetically sustainable. That was the desire. If you will catch up or watch those past videos, that we've seen that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency has been working for. That was the manifestation goal. How can we do what we're doing easier? How can we make it more energetically efficient? This is that energetic solution that, again, with that slow incremental work, you've slowly been easing into that manifestation goal becoming a reality. So a lot of the energy in the divine union may have even seen this happen, didn't even see this was happening, because it came by so many bits and degrees. Masculine and feminine energy right now that's coming into the divine union, this is that modality that feels like the breakthrough point in terms of feeling the sustainability, feeling the joy, not from where you're going to go with someone or what you're going to do. The joy is in the counterpart energy, feeling that amplification, feeling that alignment coming into play. That in itself is, again, the energetic commitment. It almost like doesn't need words because it's something that you feel so energetically, intuitively. So we see even now a lot of that work is about sweating the small stuff, taking those practicalities. A lot of the energy right now coming into the divine union is just trying to take those energetic hurdles and find a way to energetically blend them in a way that allow for more of that efficiency to occur. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This modality is one that we see is creating a sense of being able to energetically take or leave a connection, right? What happens when we move into that space of not just chasing after connection, but utilizing our own power of discernment? It allows us an ability to navigate the choice. For feminine, that is a step back, if you will, right now, because feminine has been focusing so much on this, creating their own happiness, that now they're almost moving in a very defensive way in relationality to building new partnership opportunities with masculine, because this is a feminine energy that is almost manifesting, first and foremost, a masculine that protects and preserves the happiness and peace that the feminine has created for themselves. This is that feminine energy that's, again, and this is almost the feminine energy right now, that if they're seeing a masculine that is approaching them and they feel like they're not sure what they want, if they're weighing their options, what is the feminine saying? I'll see you later. Have fun with that. This is feminine energy that almost says, it's fine. And this is not feminine energy that's judging the masculine in that. This could be a feminine that, like, again, due to the clarity of the masculine, potentially feels like they have full understanding, but can almost see. This is feminine, potentially is seeing a lot of masculine, potentially coming towards feminine right now and being like, you're not energetically ready. You're being honest, which is like half the battle, but you're not being energetically ready, because this is the feminine energy. You can almost, again, in that honesty, see a masculine that is struggling back and forth about what they want to do. This is the feminine being like, I wish you well, but you can't come in here. You can't come in here if you're juggling like that, because this is the feminine energy saying, I've already worked through that path work and seeing what happens when a masculine doesn't know what they want. That the masculine will effectively, energetically, potentially blame the feminine for getting what the feminine offers. That's the feminine saying, I'm not doing the path work of letting someone in who doesn't know what they want, because I've seen the experience of a masculine who then blames the feminine for giving them what they offered. Right? That's a masculine that will always look at the other option and go, what if? That's a feminine almost saying to themselves, I'm not navigating, and a masculine that's still doing what if. This is the masculine that needs to be able to relinquish options and move towards the feminine with intentionality, because that is the amplification of a masculine that is chosen for themselves, isn't just allowing the world and the options around them to guide them forward in terms of like where they find themselves. Masculine energy in this modality, you may be seeing a feminine energy telling you this right now. This could be a feminine energy, even either new connections or old connections, almost saying this like with all the love in their energetic hearts to you. This is the energy right now that's almost giving this to the masculine from a state of energetic compassion, right? If this is masculine energy that's almost saying to themselves, I never get what I want. Well, what do you want? I'm never energetically happy. Well, what would make you happy? Right? You need to start with understanding and identifying that. You can't just go looking around for it and then trip into it. You have to move with intentionality. So we see a lot of this masculine energy. You're in separation right now, but you're also noticing your own patterns. You're seeing it. Hopefully, this is showing me energetically there's a moment right now for a lot of the masculine that feels like a bit of that energetic breakthrough, but sometimes a breakthrough and a crisis, they can feel very much the same. Recognizing our own patterns is a moment that we have to energetically stop ourselves, because that's that moment of saying, I'm doing it again, right? And what is happening right now for some of the masculine energy? If a masculine energy just had a breakthrough point, opening up to feminine, building these new energetic connections, suddenly realizing, oh my God, I could have been doing this the whole time. What if I did that? What if... Are you doing it again? Are you doing it again? Are you not prioritizing a direction? What is being required right now for a lot of the masculine energy? Observing your own ability to try to like juggle, to balance the possibilities, to recognize what happens. Why do you not build a deep connection with feminine? Because feminine can see when you're juggling. Because feminine can see when you're juggling. Because feminine can see that confusion. It's as plain as the nose on your face. You never hide it. So we see even now the masculine's going, oh my gosh, I'm already, like a lot of masculine energy right now in separation. If this is happening, you're doing it again, but the important thing is you're recognizing that you're doing it. An ability to recognize something, to see it as it is occurring, gives you the gift and the grace to be able to make a choice. So we see even now for a lot of the masculine energy, navigating through that hurdle is requiring a little bit of internal journeying. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Sun card and our Temperance card is what happens when we see ourselves caught in a cycle that we couldn't see before. The problem with a lot of the masculine energy potentially going through this right now is now that you see it, and this is that moment of grace. This is that moment of being like, if you didn't see this before, you had a little bit of healing, that's fine, right? Like not being able, like that's a problem with the healing journey, right? When you can't see something about yourself effectively or energetically, you can't be blamed for it. When you can see something, when you can see something that is unhealthy, that you do, something that has potentially been creating a block in your own path work, you have to reframe your connection to it. Because now it's not that moment of doing something inadvertently and not registering and understanding why it might be creating some point of problem in your own life. You're not stumbling around being like, why is this thing happening all the time? You now see what that energetic trigger might be. You understand and you recognize what might be bringing that energetically about, if you will. The beauty of that is, again, and it's also, again, depending on what you do moving forward, that is either that amplification, and this is why for so much of the masculine energy in this modality right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that is that moment that feels like the amplification of recognizing something that isn't energetically healthy, that has been damaging your own connections. Do you perpetuate it, or do you resolve to stop it? Do you perpetuate it, or do you resolve to stop it? And we see even now, for a lot of the energy right now that is moving forward in that way, that ability to ascertain is now again confronting something that may have felt like it was unhealed within you. Because your ability to ascertain and to see that energetic pattern now gives you the clear pathway in terms of how to energetically heal it. So to stay in that modality would almost be to willingly allow oneself to stay in a lower frequency, because you're allowing yourself to allow for an unhealthy cycle to perpetuate. Feminine energy right now, this is why we see a lot of the feminine energy in this modality right now, utilizing that feeling of pathwork in relationality to caution, if you will, in terms of the new energetic connections that they're building with masculine. Because this amplification point in feminine, finding that path of joy, finding that path of healing, getting back on their path, working towards their own happiness, is something that has taken quite some time. So what is the feminine doing right now? The feminine energy, and this is why we have to be a little conscientious, feminine energy, and recognizing, again, not looking at the past as something that occurred to you, but as a lesson to be learned. That is the feminine energy, looking either back in the past at something, and again, seeing the full extent of why something wasn't healthy. That is also hyper-focusing their own anxiety in relationality to moving forward right now, to make sure that they're able to maintain the happiness that they've created, recognizing that sometimes when someone is unhealed, they might not even recognize it, right? So even now we see that that's a feminine energy, utilizing some pathwork of energetic trepidation, potentially even feeling like, again, that sense of masculine that may be energetically trying to heal, but they haven't necessarily gotten the full hang of it. So even now, this is feminine energy saying, I am doing that work to identify the cycles within my own self. This is feminine already starting to feel that energetic connection to someone, potentially seeing the fact that they're still in a space of confusion as it relates to what it is that they energetically want. So this is feminine taking the accountability for their own energetic lesson, while also utilizing that as a point of trepidation and saying, I need to push back on something, because I also recognize that when someone's not energetically healed, they could be trying, they could be doing their best, and they may not necessarily realize that they're inadvertently leading towards something that isn't going to be the best in the long run. So we see even now a lot of that energy that is working through that process, if you will, and almost again trying to navigate those situations. This is why a lot of the feminine energy may be energetically distancing right now from any of the masculine energy that's approaching them from a state of confusion, or not being able to articulate what it is that they truly aspire and desire in a connection to feminine. Because this is feminine saying, I've already been down that road. I know where that path leads. I can't initiate or move down it again willingly, because now I energetically see it. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is that sense of just effectively, of again, identifying. If you've just come into divine union and suddenly you're looking at anything outside the divine union with like a lot of this energetic heaviness, just remember, don't let that build that sense of like righteousness, if you will, right? Because this could potentially lead to something that feels a little polarizing, if you will. And we want to avoid anything that creates that like deep degree of polarity, because that polarity itself isn't necessarily healthy. Right? Just as we talked about that sense of, again, identifying that you don't understand something until you come into understanding, you have to have that same energy of compassion and grace towards anything outside of the divine union, even if it doesn't feel like it's working or serving towards the direction that you're moving in, right? that is that moment of remembering that we all like have those our own journeys, if you will, and the ability not to get into that sense of us against them, if you will, energetically, is really vitally important as you move into divine union, specifically because that energetic equivalent, like, it doesn't allow for the expansion of the energy. It creates a contraction point. So being able to observe those things and say to oneself that there's a desire to energetically expand, that everything can come into a place of healing if given enough time, that ability to do so, if you will, that is that level. And I think, and you see, even now, this is a little bit more common when you first come into the divine union, because it is the amplification of having that breakthrough and feeling the energetic equivalent of the perception changing in terms of what you've created with another versus what's outside or beyond that periphery. Just remember that whatever's outside of the periphery of the divine union energy, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily against the energy in the divine union. It's just the fact that, like, you're in that different space, you're in that different perceptual path. Just recognize that as you go forward from this point. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union, this is that modality of, again, working through a lot of your own internal unhealed mechanisms, right? What do we keep seeing that the energy in the divine union is doing right now? Helping each other on path work. What does that helping on path work mean? Does that mean I want to turn you into something, so I want you to become this? No, no, no. The energy in the divine union is navigating that space or place of saying, I know what you aspire for. I know what that looks like. I'm going to do everything I can to try to help you stay true to that higher self model, right? So even now, this takes a little bit of that fine tuning. That takes a little bit of that deeper work. It takes a little bit of that ability to recognize and identify and almost call forth at those moments and say, oh, I think you're getting a little off of your own alignment there, right? I feel like you're getting off a little bit there. Like this is a bit of that fine tuning work. But again, that is that tough love that we energetically give, not wanting to change someone to what we aspire or desire them to be, but almost holding them energetically accountable for who they desire to be. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Temperance and our Hierophant in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Star. Been getting this card a lot over the last couple of days. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now. This is that moment or that modality. Look where you see these energies right now. We've got masculine leading forth, building that sense of stability, security, continuing forward in this way, right? Continuing to build that energetic framework. Why? Because again, this is the masculine trying to build that supportive structure of the feminine, being able to be their most authentic, vulnerable expression of self. Both of these energies are almost energetically challenging themselves to a certain degree. They're both, again, in the divine union frequency, pushing their own energetic limits. Now, I want to say, I don't want to say limits, okay? I need to stress this because it's that moment that we see that when we're coming into that sense or that space of continuing to try to perfect our own self, we always want to find that comfort level that feels a little challenging and exciting. Right? Pushing that energetic envelope in terms of what feels like it is conventional. Why? Because a lot of the energy in the divine union doesn't want to get caught in that sense of energetic rigidity. They're trying to come into their full expression or authentication of self. So even now we see that is masculine and feminine energy. Masculine, putting a lot of that tangible work into play, pushing a lot in the tangible realm today, even trying some unconventional, tangible activations today, potentially, pushing against their own comfort level, but in a positive way, right? What is feminine doing? Coming into that deepening sense of vulnerability, allowing that moment of, again, feeling a little bit outside of their comfort zone, but allowing themselves to ease into that to a certain degree. Why? The masculine's doing it for the sense of the feminine that is encouraging them in that capacity, that's inspiring them. The masculine, the feminine, is doing that because the masculine is creating that feeling of stability and security and assurance as feminine continues to move forward in this way. That is the beauty of the divine union, that slight encouragement, moving something a little bit more, but not beyond someone's own comfort level, helping them find a deeper version of themselves by hitting their own sense of energetic discomfort, but in a way that feels like it is energetically supportive to the standard that someone is setting for their own self. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that modality of a lot of energy experiencing or feeling that type of connection. And that is one of those moments that we see in a way, some of this energy hasn't even I want to say put a ring on it, if you will. It's almost something that has almost energetically happened. It's that moment that feels like that feeling of deep, profound alignment, because when you feel it, you just know it's there. That's that moment that feminine is almost seeing it. This isn't a feminine that's hearing a masculine talking about some possible future commitment plan. This is a feminine that almost says, I can see in the way this energy moves at every moment that energy is always making the intentional choice of choosing me. And this is masculine moving towards feminine, saying, you are the amplification of everything that I aspire and desire for. That is something that isn't something that you can put an energetic name to. That is the energy of the divine union. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is why the energy is utilizing so much discernment right now in separation. What is feminine doing? Feminine is coming into that sense of finding themselves again in separation. They're doing it at a place of full vulnerability. They're building that sense of being able to feel safe in their own skin again, doing the things that they aspire and desire to do. And this is a feminine energy that's almost saying to themselves, they are fine not being in partnership as they wait for the energetic equivalent of the masculine that is going to be able to offer what it is that they truly desire and aspire, because that's that feeling of waiting, coming into energetic alignment with someone that knows what they want and is intentional with the way that they approach the feminine. Masculine in separation, you are potentially recognizing this right now, that your own ability to be authentic is what brings out the authenticity in feminine, but it's a two-part street. You have to be authentic and you have to be intentional. Masculine trying to understand right now is going through a little bit of internal journeying right now in separation to try to identify what it is that they truly want, what that looks like so that they can provide it or offer it towards feminine. Understanding that ability to do so is the energetic connection, because that is the masculine, not again telling the feminine how something's going to be, offering it to the feminine to see if they can move forward in the space or place of working together to build that manifestation goal. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Two of Pentacles and our Devil card. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with Seven of Pentacles in its reversal. This is some of that energy that we're seeing right now with the eclipse coming in. This is that moment that feels like this amplification point in terms of waiting to see the results on some energetic actions right now. Masculine and feminine energy right now. This is that modality that we see that even now for the energy in the divine union, this ability of recognizing what feels like it is a sustainable, perpetual part of your own experience versus what feels like it is, again, energetically taking up too much time or doesn't feel like it's yielding the results that you might aspire and desire. This is that energetic work that we see that the energy in the divine union is experiencing right now, almost as a way to be able to energetically challenge one another to help uncover what feels like it might be blocking your manifestation goals. Because what we really identify for a lot of the energy in this modality right now is that desire of not wanting to stand in your own way. So what is the energy in the heart of the divine union doing to ascent? Acting as clear mirrors to one another, but in a way that doesn't feel like you're just giving someone positive encouragement in a space or place where you're telling them everything is going well when things aren't. It's that moment of being able to amplify and try to show someone something that feels like it is something that not to be changed or adjusted for the sake of an outside person or individual. It's for the sake of one's own self. To be able to say, like, look, if there is a disruption point between what you aspire for and what you're doing, you want to address that because that is the moment that we would articulate and amplify that that's the moment of seeing someone who's like inadvertently self-sabotaging themselves. This is that point of giving someone that energetic equivalent, if you will, to help recognize and say, I'm doing that to help you work more effectively, but also to work as counterparts more effectively. So that is that sense of being able to have difficult conversations, but all for the sense of sake and sense of productivity. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that energetic equivalent that, again, feels like that amplification on what isn't in the divine union versus what is. So what is happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union? And I think that this is something that we characteristically see a lot for the energy coming into the divine union. There needs to be almost like an over amplification on what you're creating between one another right now. With this sense of like energetic urgency, if you will. This isn't surprising. We just saw that a lot of the energy felt like there was a lot of this like external energy or even internal energy trying to pull the divine union apart. The ability to understand and recognize that is, again, almost that release process that is occurring for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union right now, with that observational point of like not harboring any ill will or any feelings of resentment towards anything that you may have had to experience or anything that you've like prior to coming into the divine union. This is that moment that, again, just feels like that sense of having to like prioritize the divine union or the building of the divine union above all other things right now, and recognizing and understanding that any energy that doesn't respect and understand that is probably energy that isn't in alignment with the union itself. So that ability to identify and recognize that and just have that moment of having to kind of like step back from things and try to like realign, because that sense of surprise for a lot of the energy right now in terms of having to make some adjustments because you weren't necessarily expecting to find yourself in this frequency, that may be creating a little bit of friction right now. But also that sense of recognizing that that in itself may be something that is like requires its own level or degree of empathy is also really valuable and important right now. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is the modality of, again, not of observing a cycle, observing the start of a cycle, and immediately addressing it. We love to see these cards together for the energy and separation. Feminine and masculine. Feminine is potentially starting to build new connections with masculine, starting to feel that attachment, but seeing a masculine that's confused. What's feminine doing? No. Cutting it off. Stopping something immediately. Saying, I can't let this go in that direction. I already see what happens when I move towards someone that isn't sure what they want. This is the feminine almost identifying it immediately. Masculine in separation. If this is a modality where you're suddenly feeling this, you're seeing it. If there's almost even a feminine energy saying you don't seem like you know what you want, this is you being like, do I not know what I want? I don't know what I want. I'm being authentic, right? That's that moment of masculine saying, again, the failure point isn't being authentic. The failure point, if that's potentially happening right now, is not being intentional. Authenticity and intentionality are the two keys. Having to have one, you need one. You can't have one without the other, right? You can't be moving around not having an intentionality, just saying to everyone, I'm just being honest. You're going to be very alone, right? You can't move forward with intentionality and not be honest with everyone, because that's you effectively energetically manipulating people. You have to combine the authenticity with the integrity. You have to combine the authenticity with the intentionality. You have to combine the authenticity with the intentionality. You can't have one. You can't say you're doing one. You need to do both at the same time. Doing one without the other is also toxic. Being completely authentic and saying that the honesty is that pass, it's not. Having the intentionality and not telling people what you're intending to do, that is not. You need to combine them. You need to bring them together. They need to kiss. They need to kiss, okay? They need to kiss. They need to be together. So we see even now for a lot of the masculine energy, recognizing and identifying that is a bit of that work of the self, because what is happening right now, that's the ego meeting the id. That's the ego meeting, that's trying to push them together, that's trying to bring them together. Masculine catching one's own self, feeling that polarity in that work is allowing for an energetic breakthrough moment, because that's that moment of saying, I need to be authentic and I also need to know what I want. continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between the Devil and the Star. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with, and that's what the feminine's looking towards the masculine. This is the feminine literally saying to the masculine what I just said. Being honest doesn't save you, doesn't build an authentic connection. Saying to masculine, going to feminine, saying, well, I would never lie to you. It's like, yeah, but if you're not intentional, it doesn't matter if you're not lying to the feminine, because you're just like, you're shiftless. You're not like, you don't have any intentionality. You're just utilizing the honesty as a way of getting out of the intentionality of the connection. Right? For feminine, again, seeing a masculine that's potentially intentional, but wasn't being honest with you as to what their intentions are. This is feminine that says that's like a whole other ball of wax that isn't good. You can't have one without the other. One does not give a pass. You have to combine the intentionality with the authenticity. You have to be honest. You have to be intentional. You have to bring those together. This is almost feminine doing that process of energetically sorting right now the energy that's coming towards them and feeling like, again, if it's getting a little bit of a Goldilocks effect, this is potentially why. Feminine might be looking right now and being like, well, this person is really, really honest, but they don't have a clue what they want. This person right here seems like they know what they want, but they sure don't want to tell me. This is the feminine energy saying, I am manifesting the energy that has done the work to combine both. I am taking the energy. I am manifesting the energy of someone that recognizes the work it takes and how hard it is to blend those two spheres. So we see even now for a lot of the feminine energy manifesting that, working on that. May have to be even articulating to masculine. If a masculine is coming towards you being like, I'm just being honest, to be like, yeah, that's great, but you're not intentional. If there's a masculine energy who's like, I know what I want, feminine's like, well, then you have to tell me. Right? This is the feminine energy saying, I'm going to wait. I'll wait. I'll just sit here and wait until someone finishes the homework. I'll just sit here. I'll be over here at my desk when someone has energetically figured out how to do this. This is the feminine energy going, you can just bring it right here and I will check your work and then I'll let you know if we can continue forward. Masculine energy, you may be hearing this from feminine right now if in separation. Right? Right? This is that moment that you may be getting a little bit of some spot checking, especially if this is a masculine that's coming towards a feminine being like, I have healed. And feminine being like, have you healed? Or are you bypassing? Are you bypassing? Okay? Gotta do the work, right? So we see even now a lot of that energy doing a little bit, having a little bit of that. But again, what's masculine doing? The masculine energy that's in that journey, they're seeing themselves doing it. This is even a moment where the masculine, again, a lot of the masculine that's on this journey right now, they might not necessarily need the feminine to tell them. This is the masculine almost seeing it within themselves. Okay? Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that modality that we see that the energy right now may be feeling like they're working energetically in overtime, because this is that moment that we see that especially for the masculine, there's a feeling of the formation of the divine union without a lot of like the tangibles around it. So we see in a way a lot of the masculine energy is working very hard right now to try to like energetically, I want to say, put the foundations around what feels like a very ephemeral but profound connection with the feminine, because this is the masculine almost feels like, you know, until they have that energetic feeling of like energetically locking it in, it's almost that moment that's like amplifying the anxiety point of, again, feeling that feminine energy and like, again, having that point of like doing everything and feeling that GPS or that prioritization towards that feminine, wanting to move forward in that way of energetically protecting. Feminine feeling that same energetic frequency right now, we see to a certain extent. This is the feminine energy almost slowing down to a certain extent, because this is the feminine energy that feels and sees the masculine moving in this way, which is why the feminine's like, what we have is like real, because it's not something that you're telling me, it's something that you're showing me. It's something that is beyond, it's like beyond reprisal. It's just visible. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now. This is that difficult energetic work, right? This is the energy that is working through, trying to identify, trying to recognize what feels like it is potentially energetically blocking their own manifestation goals. Even now we see that this is a little bit of that difficult path work. Feminine energy moving in that modality, trying to be their most authentic expression of self, feeling the anxiety points that potentially arrives and creates, right? Even now, like a lot of that energetic unpacking, if you will. It feels very difficult. Masculine, much like the energy that we're seeing right now of, again, building forth with the feminine in this modality, acting as clear mirrors, is again having those points of having to say the hard thing, having to have those points of pointing out that pathwork in relation to observation. So even now we see that a lot of this energy is doing a lot of work right now to kind of focus on the positive, but also not wanting to not address the negative, right? So even now we see that this is a bit of that dual pathwork that we always hit when we're working in the divine union frequency, because we're never perfect. We're never perfect. But our own ability to recognize and identify and modify through that is always that energetically challenging space, if you will. So we see even now a lot of that energy in the divine union is committing themselves to trying to come into their best version of self, but while also at the same time addressing what they feel might be those parts of themselves that may be energetically standing in their own way, right? Final card for today's spread is our Seven of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with the Eight of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with this is look at this productivity that we're seeing right now, especially for the energy in the divine union frequency. A lot of this energy right now in the divine union frequency is just cranking. They're just putting in that work. They're doing everything they can energetically, if you will. And even now, it's almost like that point of amplification, like what's happening right now. Even if there's some energy right now in the divine union frequency that has found that they've inadvertently walked into some of their manifestation goals, is that the energy effectively relaxing? No. It's taking that point of observing and going, great, and it's feeling that amplification of continuing forward to a certain extent, because that's that moment. And again, what do we see with a good manifestation? A good manifestation is something that, again, you move towards and say to oneself, I aspire and desire for this to occur. If it doesn't, I would just keep doing this anyway. This isn't something that you're moving towards because you need that aspirational point. That is finding that flow state that propels you forward because you find joy in what you're doing as you continue to work towards that manifestation goal. So we see even now a lot of the energy in that modality is learning that ability energetically, finding that energetic sweet spot that feels like it builds that sense of abundance. It builds that sense of energetic peace for you, even as you energetically give towards it. So we see even now that the ability of recognizing that right now is that sense of energetic discernment, if you will, because this is that moment that we see is building that empowerment point between feeling the desire to do something, seeing the results, trying to continue to build that sense of refinement ever tighter in relationality to what you're doing and doing it effectively to help you manifest those goals sooner without overexerting yourself in one specific direction. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that modality of energetically finding that type of counterpart energy in another. And it's that moment that feels like it doesn't require that point of massive accommodation. What happens when we just find someone that we're in alignment with? It just feels fluid. And even now we see to a certain extent a lot of that reason, that sense of feeling that fluidity there, already feeling it's there in a midst where the energy around you is making it even more difficult, is almost propelling a lot of this energy to make a lot more changes sooner. Because this is almost that feeling of saying to oneself, trying to move towards a manifestation goal, which is if things are going well now, when everything feels like it's energetically stacked against us, imagine what would happen if we just move those into a place of merging even better. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is that modality of finding that energetic space for yourself at a time of separation. Feminine is starting to feel themselves being building potentially new pathwork or building some kind of energetic connection with new opportunities with masculine. What's feminine doing? Pulling back on the reins, saying, wait, I need to know that we're on the same page. Masculine, having that modality, also potentially leading forth with feminine, also pulling back on the reins, feeling and truly absorbing the feminine saying, I need you to know what you want. And recognizing and understanding that that's not a feminine that's saying, I need you to choose. This is almost a feminine saying, you need to know what you want, because it's the only way for us to facilitate a healthy partnership going forward. Bottom of the deck on this reading today, Four of Wands in its reversal. So one of the things that we're energetically seeing right now is the unforeseen. Interestingly, one of the things we see here, like one of the things that we see even now for all of the energy at play, masculine, feminine, across all the frequencies. We see a lot of energy trying to, energetically cover their bases, if you will, in relationality to what you feel like you can energetically control. A lot of fundamental tangibles happening right now across all of the frequencies. What can't be controlled is what can't be controlled. And one of the things that we see right now is, again, for the energy in the divine union frequency, this is that feeling of trying to prepare for the unexpected. Right? Even now we see that could be an ongoing frustration with some of these energies. I'm not surprised. We've got the Mercury retrograde coming up. Like, it's not surprising that we're seeing this here. For the energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is that modality that feels like that amplification point in terms of having to make plans, because a lot of this energy may be feeling like if any plans that you're making, it's not like you're doing it to fortify the connection. It just almost feels like that energetic bother, like you want to get to you just want to get to the good part. You don't want to have to go through all of the rigmarole one typically does, right? This is the type of energy that just feels like they just if they could, they just settle into each other, with each other, and then just go off on their own, as opposed to having to go through the full song and dance of things. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is the feminine energy seeing the possibility of repeating the cycles. This is the energy seeing the direction of something going and going absolutely not. Feminine, if this is a moment that you're building a connection with a new masculine energy and they're showing some sense of uncertainty or confusion, this is feminine saying, I can't, I want to, but I can't. I know where that path leads. For masculine, if this is that moment of a feminine pushing back at a point that you're trying to build authentically with feminine, and they're saying, I can't because you don't seem like you have that intentionality. This is that moment of remembering that the goal isn't just to not build in a space or place of illusion with the feminine. You also have to know what you're building. It's a two-part system. You have to have the authenticity, and then you have to have the intentionality. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy, taking that additional leap of faith, being able to talk with that sense of aspiration on what you hope to build with the feminine, that's energetically hard. That rattles the energetic ego. But it's also energetically necessary, because there isn't something here that can be based on a wait and see. Everything is wait and see. What do you want? What would be your ideal long-term scenario? That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we will do this again tomorrow.